Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lehan. Some of the fatalities in the tragic C-130 plane crash in Paticul, Sulu have been identified and are set to be brought back to their families within the week. Pat Mangunen now joins us live from Camp Evangelista in Cagayan de Oro to give us the latest. Pat, good afternoon. Could you tell us how many of the 52 fatalities have been identified so far?
Charles, as of the latest information from the Western Mindanao Command, 3 of the civilians who died there was trouble in identifying them. But with the 49 Army personnel who were included in the fatalities of the crash, 12 of them so far have been identified. The AFP, or the investigators, and their forensics experts are having quite a difficult time identifying their charred remains. Charles?
Right. How long do they expect it will take for the other victims to be identified, as well as maybe figure out more items from their investigation?
So far, Charles, the Western Mindanao Command estimates 5 to 7 days until the forensics experts will be able to get DNA confirmation from the remains of the fallen soldiers who were severely burnt from the crash. And the AFP also assured that the dental records of all the soldiers have been submitted to them, and all they will have to do is to match these with the remains. Charles?
All right, Pat, so could you tell us what the military's plans are as regards the funeral for at least 49 soldiers who were killed in the crash?
Charles, the Armed Forces of the Philippines assured that they will arrange military honors for the fallen soldiers from the crash. But they're still planning out how they will transport the bodies. Will it be straight to their hometown provinces, or will some of them be sent here to Camp Evangelista in Cagayan de Oro City? But the AFP also assured that there will be financial assistance for the transportation, the burial, and for the dependents of the families who were left behind. Charles?
Pat, do we have any updates as regards the investigation into the cause of the plane crash? Have authorities found the black box?
The Western Mindanao Command confirmed that as of yesterday, they have already retrieved from the crash site the C-130's black box, the data recorder, and the voice recorder. The information from these will include the conversations or the final transmissions that the pilot made before the crash, and this will aid in the investigation. But there's no timeline yet when they will conclude this, as some of the technical data from these equipment will still have to be consulted with the manufacturer of the C-130 plane. Charles?
All right, Pat, you mentioned earlier thorough investigation and military honors. What other assurances did the President give to the armed forces in relation to the Sulu accident?
Yes, Charles, the President Rodrigo Duterte visited the remains of the fallen and the wounded soldiers yesterday in Zamboanga City, and he promised that before his term ends, he will provide higher pay, more benefits, so that the dependents or the families of those who have died in service will not be left empty-handed. So that's one of his promises, Charles.
All right, thank you for those updates, Pat. That was Pat Mangunen reporting live from Cagayan de Oro. Though the country has 4 C-130 planes left in its fleet, one military analyst says only 1 or 2 of them are still operational. On 1 PHS Wagpo, analyst and military historian Jose Custodio said that the C-130 that crashed on Sunday accounted for up to 33 or 50% of the kind that are still operational. Custodio explained, however, that this could also be considered a 100% loss in operational C-130s because the crash resulted to the grounding of other functional aircraft. This law of averages, according to the expert, highlights the need to expand the military's resources and facilities.
Kung military ka, base development ang importante. No? Hindi pwedeng sabihin mo na, tagal na tayo lumilipad dyan. Hindi naman nung kakaroon ng insidente. May law of averages eh. Ano law of averages tayo ngayon?
Custodio also said that the plane crash may not have been caused by pilot error or a plane defect. As he says, the C-130 is a very safe and reliable aircraft, and although there are allegations of faulty landing gear, Custodio believes that this alone would not have caused fatalities. The military expert urges authorities to look into the possibility that the crash was caused by the poor design of the Jolo airport.
For me, basically, if you ask me, I would just concentrate more on the Jolo airport than the actual aircraft itself. Because, if, for example, if that thing happened in Naiya or in Clark, they just walk away from it. You know, nobody would have died. But that thing happened in Jolo. And the runway is barely 1,300 meters long. So, and then at the end, you can see ridges and hills. So, wala talaga siyang ano to. And then may community pa dyan. Kaya nga may namatay na civilians eh.
We'll have more stories after this quick break. Stay with us. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, says that only OFWs who completed their COVID-19 vaccine doses may enjoy a shorter quarantine period upon arrival. In today's Laging Handa briefing, OWA Director Rosalia Susana Katapang said that returning OFWs should be fully vaccinated first before they can qualify for the 7-day quarantine mandated by the IATF. The new quarantine protocols cover fully vaccinated Filipinos who exclusively stayed in so-called green countries. Katapang assured OFWs that the government will shoulder all expenses for quarantine, RT-PCR testing, and transportation.
So kung sila po ay mayroong ma-present na international certificate of vaccination or yung kanila pong vaccination documents ay na-validate po sa iba't ibang Philippine Overseas Labor Offices, sila po ay makakauwi sa atin at ang kanilang quarantine period ay mababawasan po. So from 10 days, magiging 7 days.
Here are other stories we are keeping our eyes on. The NDRRMC reports that Taal's continuous unrest has affected more than 1,900 families, or around 6,500 residents over 77 nearby barangays. Over 1,000 families are still staying in evacuation centers as the volcano remains under alert level 3. Davao City still has the highest number of fresh COVID-19 infections outside Metro Manila based on data from the Octa Research Group. The city recorded more than 300 new cases between June 29 and July 5, followed by Bacolod and Iloilo City. And the Philippine Statistics Authority says inflation, or the rate of increase in the prices of goods and services, eased to 4.1% in June. This figure is slower compared to last May's 4.5% due to lowered transportation and fuel costs. And the countdown to the Tokyo Olympics is not as smooth sailing as Japan continues to see an uptick in fresh COVID-19 cases. Let's see how organizers are holding up in this Bloomberg Quick Take.
It's the countdown to the Olympics. I'm Kurumi Mori in Tokyo. Here's what's happening in Japan. Virus cases are rising again in Tokyo, raising concerns about a fifth wave of infections as the Japanese capital prepares for the Olympics opening ceremony in 3 weeks. Organizers are now leaning toward not allowing spectators in large venues like track and field, soccer, and baseball, according to Nikkei. This follows a Yomiuri newspaper report that said the Japanese government is planning to extend the quasi-state of emergency in the Tokyo metropolitan area during the Summer Olympics. Plus, here's what else we're looking to next. Major travel nightmares. For athletes, the road to the Tokyo Olympics has been unusual, to say the least. And for some teams, just getting to Japan on time is proving to be a challenge. Fiji Airways is currently not operating commercial flights due to COVID, so athletes are traveling on a service that generally transports cargo, like chilled seafood and express mail. Others have already arrived. The Australian softball team seems to be well into training, but a member of the Serbian rowing team tested positive for COVID-19 and was isolated at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. That follows 2 members of Uganda's Olympic squad also testing positive upon arrival in Japan last month, despite getting vaccinated earlier. So a bit of a mixed bag. I'm Kurumi Mori in Tokyo.
For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Do visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Charles Lejano. We are One News.